Some more political news tomorrow night. President Biden will deliver his State of the Union address. Biden's been practicing for weeks, not his speech, staying up past 9 o'clock. He'll do it.
Maybe his son Hunter could help him out there if he's got to stay up later than usual. I think Hunter has something in his shaving kit that might come in handy tonight. Ba-dam-ba-dam-bam. Ba-da-da-da-da-dam. Well, happy Thursday and welcome back. The Democrats and crime go together like carrots and peas. They love crime. They're anti-police. I think they try to raise violent criminals, and it's one area where they're having a good deal of success. Remarkable stuff. A lot to get to in the next 2 hours. State of the Union tonight. Will Cookie Monster be in the gallery with Joe Biden? Will the head of the Sinaloa cartel be in the gallery for Joe Biden and the Democrats? MS-13, Venezuelan gang leaders, all the Democrat Party allies. Got Tren de Agua, and you got to have... you got to have your friends in the gallery to cheer for you. And who better than the Sinaloa cartel, maybe the Medellin cartel, maybe some Chinese business associates should be in the gallery. You think Hunter Biden will be in there, rubbing his nose and blinking his eyes furiously like he was on the Truman balcony at the White House a while back? Ought to be interesting. Will Joe Biden mention Laken Riley, who was murdered in Georgia by a Venezuelan illegal alien brought into the country? Thanks to Joe Biden and the Democrats. More Democrats equals more murder. That's the thing about those rascally Democrats. The crime is so crazy that the Democrat governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, has ordered the National Guard into the city of New York. That's the Army. The Army is taking over the New York City subway system, and they say they're going to, because of the amount of crime, and state troopers, too, by the hundreds and hundreds. And the Democrats tell us, there is no crime problem. There is nothing to see here. Why would there be a problem of any kind? You may recall that the New York Times reluctantly published an op-ed by Senator Tom Cotton when the Democrats were burning our cities from coast to coast in 2020 because of St. George Floyd of fentanyl, who had died of heart failure while resisting arrest, making him a hero of the Democrat Party, filled with fentanyl and methamphetamine and THC, which is, pretty much legal everywhere Democrats are in charge. Oh, we've got an update for you on that, too, because the state of Oregon legalized, decriminalized all drugs, including heroin and Oxycontin and fentanyl. And it turns out that didn't work out very well. And a whole lot of people are dead because of the Democrat Party policies. And now they're scratching their heads and saying, maybe we should reverse that. So we got that. But Senator Tom Cotton wrote a piece, a U.S. Senator, a Harvard law grad, a decorated combat veteran. And he wrote an article when the Democrats were burning our cities. Many, many cities, attacking the police and police stations and courthouse buildings and everything else. Tom Cotton wrote a piece in the New York Times, "Send in the Military," was the headline of the piece. Send in the troops. And it caused such upheaval at the New York Times that the editor, the page editor, the editorial page editor that allowed this, how dare he, showed such bad judgment that he was drummed out of the New York Times. Because I can't even list all the cities that the Democrats were burning at the time. There were dozens of people murdered, thousands of police officers injured, billions in property damage, according to the insurance industry, quite literally billions. And Tom Cotton said, send in the military, send in the troops. And the New York Times and the rest of the media went bat guano insane because they're mentally ill. Now, the crime is so out of control in New York City on the subway that the left-wing Democrat hack governor, Kathy Hochul of the state of New York, is sending the National Guard into the New York City subways to help fight crime. That's USA Today's headline. following a series of high-profile crimes. You know, Daniel Penny tried to stop a mentally ill, crazy person on the subway, and he accidentally died. And now they're going to lynch Daniel Penny for trying to stop crime because Democrats like crime. In fact, I was having a nice conversation with a woman in New York City yesterday, and we were talking about the subway. And she said, I've been riding the subway for years. Never been so uncomfortable riding the subway. I never felt so threatened. And she said, and since Daniel Penny, she said, and I know that if I'm assaulted on the train, that no man is going to step up and intervene because the Democrats will put you in jail for defending a woman, which Daniel Penny was doing, defending many women on that train car. The Democrats are pro-criminal, pro-crazy person, pro-crime, pro-murder, pro-Venezuelan gang, pro-carjacking. They're not on the side of civilization. They're not liberals. They're the left. And all they do is kill and steal and destroy the left. And now they have the Democrat Party. And they've taken over city after city and the White House and on it goes. So following a series of high-profile crimes in New York City's subway system, Governor Kathy Hochul announced plans Wednesday to send hundreds of National Guard members to patrol and search passengers' bags for weapons at busy train stations in New York City. Hochul is deploying 750 members of the National Guard and 250 state troopers and police officers from the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, a state agency, to assist city police with bag searches. That ought to do it. Now, keep in mind that the NYPD is down hundreds and hundreds of officers because the Democrats defunding, targeting the police. And so nobody wants to be a member of the New York City Police. Nobody's joining. They can't recruit, just like in Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles and San Francisco, because Democrats and their pro-crime policies and their anti-police policies are causing absolute havoc everywhere you look. The plan is an effort to rid our subways of people who commit crimes, what an idea, and protect all New Yorkers, whether you're a commuter or transit worker, using the Soviet lexicon, Hochul said at a news conference Wednesday. Do we have a soundbite? We have a soundbite of Kathy Hochul, who was out there yesterday because she's trying to pretend that they're a positive force when, in fact, they are the crime wave.
These brazen, heinous attacks on our subway system will not be tolerated. We're focusing on repeat offenders, deterring crime.
How are you going to do that?
And protecting the people on our subways. I'm redeploying nearly 1,000 members of the New York State Police.
Redeploying.
MTA Police and MTA National Guard to conduct bag checks in the city's busiest transit stations.
Yeah, that should. How are you going to single out repeat offenders with bag checks, you maroon? Honestly, what an amazing clown show this thing is. Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York.
You'll start seeing them at the tables. Making sure that weapons are not being brought in.
They're going to make sure.
Because no one heading to their job or to visit family or to go to a doctor appointment should
with a
worry
bag
that
check.
the person sitting next to them possesses a deadly weapon.
What a moron. Now, you got a bag check. Women have purses, so they're going to chuck me this nice woman in New York yesterday. So they're going to search my purse now. What if you're a woman and you have pepper spray? They'll arrest you, and now the military is arresting people. Deutschland, über alles. What kind of a third world banana boat are the Democrats running? And it's just amazing. And by the way, so now I'm a criminal. Okay, I'm going to play the role of a criminal here. I've got a backpack. I'm a man. Women have purses. Men might have backpacks because we're all teenagers now. And I go into a New York City crowded subway, and there's a choke point because now everybody's being searched like it's the TSA, but we have the military doing it in uniform, presumably with M16 rifles, M4 rifles. And now we're searching my backpack. And we know as I'm going to lay my backpack on a table. She said there'll be tables. Search my backpack. So obviously I take my Glock and I stuff it in my waistband. Are we doing pat downs too? Because you just announced how to get around the Glock smuggle, you maroons. is a 100% bag search. So all the women, you got men in uniform with rifles jamming their hands through your purse all over the place, finding who knows what. That's a good idea. And the men, young men with guns, they put their backpack on the table because their guns are in their waistband, in the front or the back, or stuffed down the front of their pants, or in their socks, or whatever, with an ankle holster. You just told them how to get around it. This is how dumb these people are.
If someone refuses a random bag check, they won't be riding the train.
They can refuse.
And we can refuse.
We can refuse them.
Okay,
They can walk.
They can walk. I got to tell you, they're just amazing, aren't they? They are. Now, let's stay in New York for a minute, because it was a story I told you about a couple of days ago, that two dismembered bodies were found in New York on Long Island. And this is a pretty amazing story. They found a woman's head severed, as you might imagine, not attached to a body. I don't believe they found the body of the woman, but they found her head, so she's probably not doing very well. And they found the severed arm of a man. I found out through a friend of mine who was texting me the other day that his brother lives in Long Island. His brother was getting his hair cut, and the woman cutting his hair said, "Oh, did you hear about the dismembered bodies up the road?" Said, "Oh, yeah, I heard about it." And she whipped out her phone and showed him pictures of the severed arm, because she was driving to work, and there were a few people gathered on the side of the road, and she slowed down to look, and she said, "My God, what's going on?" Jumped out, went over there, and everybody was standing there and pointing at a severed arm, a human arm, a man's arm. She took pictures of it with her cell phone, as you might do. And the arm is what they call full sleeves, tattoos, right? Tattoos from the shoulder down to the hand. And I asked for the photo, actually. I haven't gotten it yet, but, you know, it's just the hair cutter woman and the brother and all that. But then you can identify the gang tattoos and see if it's the Venezuelan prison gangs or MS-13 or whatever. I'm sure the police are doing this. The severed arm. Now, it gets a lot crazier. So the woman's head is over there. Man's arm is over here. I think there was a leg found. And I went to take a look at that this morning, and I discovered that 4 people have been arrested and charged in this, all right? And then they were released without bail. Now, you're shaking your head. I can hear you. I can feel you shaking your head. Fox News has the story. Officials rail against bail reform as 4 suspects charged, then let go in New York body mutilation case. And Fox 5 in New York City covering the story.
4 people have been arrested in connection with the dismembered body parts that have been found across Long Island.
Right now, they've been charged with hindering prosecution, tampering with evidence, and concealing a human corpse, which under New York law are not bail eligible.
All right, Fox 5's Jody Goldberg live in Central Islip. And Jody, all 4 suspects have been released without bail.
What?
Steve and Natasha, these bodies were allegedly mutilated before they were disposed, and tonight officials in Suffolk County are calling it failure on Albany's part, vowing to change the law after 4 defendants walked.
Now, this is while the Biden administration and Democrat idiots everywhere, dishonest, but where do they find all these dishonest people? They're walking around telling us, "Oh no, crime is down everywhere you look." Oh, really, it's great, and I'll get into this a little bit. So, wait, it's not bail eligible, so they released them without bail. They arrested these people, 4 people, in this dismemberment, decapitation of a woman and dismemberment of a man. And, I got to tell you, this is yet another absurd result, thanks to, quote, bail reform, end quote, in a system where the legislature in Albany, New York, substitutes their judgment for the judgment of our judges and litigants in court. Just extraordinary stuff. The suspects are Stephen Brown, 44 years old, Jeffrey Mackey, 38 years old, Amanda Wallace, 40 years old. All of, they give their address, of 25 Railroad Avenue in Amityville. Isn't that great? It's Amityville, like the Amityville Horror. They're arrested by the homicide squad detectives charged And then Alexis Nieves, 33 years old, who is homeless, was arrested also. There is much more on this story, but then I want to straighten out a couple of the big lies that they're telling us, because there's something going on in the United States right now. Even left-wing Democrats in San Francisco and in Oregon are saying, well, wait a minute, maybe our policies are getting people killed all over the place. While in Washington, the Democrats will tell you that crime is way down, and the national media. I'll share this with you, and then I'll explain to you specifically how they're lying to us. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Visit chrisplantcruise.com. All right, now, what I'm getting to here is the headline in the Washington Times: Biden's claims of reduction in crime defy data. And our federal government is lying to us about crime, and I'll explain how they're lying to us. But listen to this story out of New York with the dismembered woman, the dismembered man, the body parts. They went and arrested these people at their home, which the police determined is uninhabitable. It's so filthy, so they can't even go back to their creepy home.
All 4 suspects arrested in connection with concealing, altering, and destroying body parts before scattering them in several locations throughout Long Island walked free on Wednesday. Stephen Brown, Jeffrey Mackey, Amanda Wallace, and Alexis Nieves, ranging in age from 33 to 40, aren't going back to Railroad Avenue in Amityville.
Where are you going?
I don't know. They're going to be under bridges chopping up more body parts.
The 4 are charged with non-bail eligible crimes, including concealing a human corpse and tampering with evidence. In court, prosecutors say the defendants used butcher knives and meat cleavers to destroy human body parts and went through barbaric lengths to conceal it all.
Non-bail eligible, so they released them all without any bail.
None of the defendants have been charged with murder in connection with the killings of the victims, a 53-year-old man and a 59-year-old woman, first found last week in Babylon Village. They entered not guilty pleas. Their attorneys didn't say how they knew each other or their victims. The 4 were released with GPS monitoring devices and can't leave Suffolk County. They're due back in court this week, and next, prosecutors anticipate additional charges.
They can't leave the county. Well, you know, they chopped up a man, 53 years old, and a woman, 59 years old, with meat cleavers and butcher knives. I guess you can trust them to not leave the county. That seems reasonable. That's amazing. Now, again, the National Guard is being called out in New York City. I'll share with you what's happening in San Francisco, where they allowed the rabble to take over, and that's just the elected Democrats in charge. In Oregon, where they decriminalized all drugs, including fentanyl and heroin. In Washington, D.C., and more. Coming up. Bum, bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum. Now, while we're talking here, my friend Randy, who runs the Chris Plant store, among other online stores, where you can get all kinds of great stuff like Remember Normal and all kinds of great T-shirts and coffee mugs, great gifts for people. But Randy has a client. He runs a lot of online businesses and providing swag to people attending a conference. And a nice couple stopped in Washington, D.C. to visit their daughter, who's going to college in Washington, D.C., parked their car, had their car broken into, smashed, and had everything stolen, backpack, name tag, luggage, all kinds of things stolen out of their car. And the nice lady, Rebecca, saying, maybe you could help me replace all this stuff I just had stolen from me in Washington, D.C., which is perfectly normal. Never leave in Washington, D.C., never leave anything in your car in plain view, because there are Democrats here, and they'll smash the window to steal a pack of gum. Much less I was just talking to Michael Piercy, you don't leave your sunglasses in view, because Democrats will smash the windows and steal everything from you. Now, all kinds of crazy going on all over the place. Let me start with this one. Biden's claim of reduction in crime defy data. It's actually Biden's claims, plural. I apologize. Big cities battling more violence now than before he took office. Now, Jeff Murdoch wrote the story, and it's a real news story. President Biden plans to celebrate large drops in crime during his State of the Union address Thursday night, but that doesn't reflect the experiences of people in cities such as the District of Columbia, Dallas, Texas, Memphis, Tennessee. The progress also hasn't reduced violent crime rates to pre-pandemic levels. In the past week, Mr. Biden has gone on the offensive against Republicans who say Democratic policies have sparked a national crime wave. They came up with a big lie about it, though, the Democrats did. He met with big city police chiefs at the White House, and the only ones he talked to were African American because it was a photo op and they're pandering as the party of the Confederate States, America, to the black vote, and traveled to the southern border for a photo op, hoping to change the narrative about crime. The crux of Mr. Biden's argument is a crime analysis by AH Datalytics, right? A Democrat Party front group that revealed an 11.8% drop in homicides nationwide from 2022 to 2023. The research found that the number of rapes, robberies, and aggravated assaults declined in 2023 from a year earlier, right? So this is it's lies, damn lies, and statistics, right? Says, well, compared to 2022, we had an 11% drop in 2023 in homicides nationwide. If those numbers hold as FBI collects more 2023 crime data from U.S. cities, they will mark the largest single-year drop in homicides since at least 1960. 1960, all right? Wow, that is a huge drop in crime, in homicides. That's incredible, the most serious crime. What a great drop. That's, what is that? That's long. That's 63, 64 years ago, more than half a century. What a great reduction in homicides. The FBI, which lies all the time now, will release the official 2023 crime statistics in the fall. Wouldn't want to rush into these things, you know. The double-digit decrease is less impressive, considering that homicides in major cities remained dramatically higher last year than before the COVID-19 pandemic. Wait a minute, you mean they're monkeying with the statistics here? The Nonpartisan Council on Criminal Justice reported a similar decline in homicides from 2022 to 2023, but found that homicides were 18% higher last year than in 2019. So here's the big lie from the Democrats. First of all, President Trump was president in 2019, and the Democrats weren't in charge of the federal government. Other violent crimes followed the same pattern, according to the council's analysis. Now, this is lies, damn lies, and statistics. Let me share with you, and this is a stat that I have shared before, actually in a story that I've shared with you before. In December 13th, 2023, the New York Post, comparing crime rates to 2019 rather than to 2022, shows just how dangerous, quote, reforms, end quote, have been. And it turns out that in New York City, if you're looking at the 2022 crime rate compared to the 2023 crime rate, that crime went down from 2022 to 2023. But that's because 2022 was historically high in terms of crime because there has been a lot of crime in 2020, 21, 22. And then, hey, look at this, a big drop-off in 2023. Lies, damn lies, and statistics. Turns out if you look at the murder rate in New York City from 2019 to 2023, then homicides are up 23%. That's huge. Robberies are up 27% compared to 2019. Felony assaults are up 35% compared to 2019 when you look at 2023. But that's because from 2019, crime went up Again, Donald Trump, president, 2019. Then 2020, crime goes up. 2021, crime goes up. 2022, crime goes up again to all-time highs in many cases. And then in 2023, there's a drop of 11% because the Democrats murdered so many people that there were fewer homicides. In 2023 in New York, 373 homicides. In 2019, only 303. So that's an increase of 70 homicides. I believe they're invested in the casket business. Again, skyrocketing crime. Auto theft in New York. If you compare 2019 to 2023, auto thefts up 194%. Total crime, overall crime up 33%. And so the Democrats, because they find new ways to lie all the time, oh, this is an old way to lie, statistical lie. Hey, look, when it peaked at all-time highs in 2022, they leave that out of the discussion. There was an 11% drop nationwide in homicides in 2023. Lies, damn lies, and statistics. Just extraordinary. And I'm aware of this, but I've found that the people at the New York Times and the Washington Post don't follow the news, and they don't have any interest in following the news, and they don't have any interest in telling the truth. In Washington, D.C., they're telling us, hey, crime is down nationwide in 2023 after peaking in 2022. Here's the corrupt Washington Post. 2023 was the district's deadliest year in more than 2 decades. In fact, it's a lot more than 2 decades, and they left that out because they're corrupt. The nation's capital recorded more homicides in 2023 than any year since 1997. So that's 26 years. Now we're at 27 years. Since 1997, that's the 1990s. That's in the last century. That was in the 20th century. Now we're almost a quarter of the way into the 21st century. And Washington, D.C. had the highest homicide rate in 26 years. But never mind that, because they don't care about human life. They care about lying to people and spinning and getting political power so more people can be murdered. Last year in Washington, D.C., what did we have? We had 900 and how many? What was it? Honestly, oh, look, this story crops off. That's an amazing thing. D.C. carjackings rose for the 6th straight year in 2023 with 959 carjackings reported. In 2022, there were only 485. And then it jumped in 1 year to 959. We are only 61 square miles in Washington, D.C. of dirt, not counting the river. Just extraordinary stuff. So that's your Democrat Party. And the Biden administration, and they're saying here that Joe Biden is going to come out and lie to us tonight. Hey, crime saw a historic drop. That's the biggest drop in homicides since 1960. Now you know the rest of the story because there are 10,000 ways to lie in the naked city. And Joe Biden has teams of people, since his brain doesn't work, that will help him lie in all kinds of ways. You're shaking your head over there. What are you seeing now? Because the craziness just keeps flowing in over the transom. Just amazing. Now, the Democrats in Oregon, again, they decriminalized all drugs. And that means heroin and fentanyl and Oxycontin and all this stuff. And then they discovered, hey, wait a minute, we just decriminalized all these drugs. And now the death rate of people from overdoses skyrocketing. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to recriminalize drugs that kill all these people. Our little experiment led to lots of coffins being sold. And now we're just going to have to pretend they're whistling past the graveyard. And they are reversing what they did because the numbers are in, and they effectively, the Democrats in the name of progressivism, have effectively murdered untold numbers of people. Oregon lawmakers voted to recriminalize drugs. The bill's future is now in the governor's hands. ABC fake news, typing on behalf of their deadly, lethal party, the Democrat Party. The future of an Oregon bill that would overhaul the state's first in the nation drug decriminalization. This has been done in other countries. If they had access to the internet, they could learn these things, maybe a library, something like that. So the decriminalization law is now in the hands of Democrat Governor Tina Kotek. Tina Kotek, who's a radical left-wing extremist. The future of an Oregon bill that would roll back the state's first in the nation drug decriminalization law is now in the hands of Democrat Governor Tina Kotek. Now, this is ABC News, so they're not going to tell you about all of the people that died under the regime of decriminalizing drugs, but you can go out in the streets anywhere in Oregon and see the junkies out there shooting up, which is perfectly legal, in front of your kid's school, which is perfectly legal, dying as they gurgled to death in front of your kids going to school. Pretty amazing. Measure 110, approved by voters in 2020, decriminalized the possession of small amounts of illicit drugs, heroin, cocaine, methamphetamine, fentanyl. ABC News leaves out fentanyl because they're corrupt. Supporters said treatment is more effective than jail. Turns out death takes care of the problem, too, in helping people overcome addiction, and that the decades-long approach of arresting people for possession and using drugs hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. But then they discovered all the dead people laying all over the place, and they said, maybe this isn't working as well as we had originally hoped. Just amazing. Your Democrat Party, every bad idea. Let's take, I've been going on here. Let's take a phone call, Michael. Let's go to Justin calling from Wilmington, North Carolina. Justin, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, good morning, Chris.
Hey, Justin.
I wanted to say what we're seeing in New York is by design. They're swooping in. They're creating their socialist police state. But they did this by making crime, by bringing in the crime, by bringing in the criminals and prosecuting every righteous act of self-defense. They don't issue concealed carry permits to people. They make all these gun-free zones, and they're creating these criminal zones till the crime goes out of control, and then they can swoop in with their police state. The solution to this is not a police state. It's written in the Second Amendment. It says necessary to the security of a free state. And we've got to choose a free state or socialist criminal police state. And one other comment I've got about all this drug policy, because I have some experience. If God made it, use it wisely. If man made it, it probably shouldn't be legal or sold, at the stores or legally. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Yeah, and if God made it, does that mean pot?
Yeah, I don't consider it a gateway drug. I consider it to be a medicinal plant. Gateway off of drugs works a lot better.
All right, I'll take it, Justin. Thank you very much for the call. I've got more on this crazy topic. San Francisco addresses its soaring crime problem with pivot away from progressive policies. The Washington Examiner. So Oregon is recriminalizing drugs after decriminalizing. San Francisco, soaring crime, junkies dying on the sidewalks all over the city. It's a third world hellhole because these aren't liberals. This is the left. Now, San Francisco passes law and order measures by large margins, including drug screening for welfare recipients. You racists, they're definitely racists. They're all rolling back. They're really bad ideas, but the body count, the pile of dead people, they'll take no responsibility for any of that, and the media will not assign them any responsibility. I don't sleep is the quote at the beginning of the headline. Violent crime surges, pushes burglarized business owner to launch a recall effort in Washington, D.C. And then we still have the State of the Union coming up as well. Crazy Joe. He's going to lie to us about crime tonight. You'll be in the know. Joe Biden's White House just put out a video of Joe Biden on a Zoom call with actors from Hollywood. Morgan Freeman and Gina Davis, Michael Douglas, Bill Pullman, people who pretended to be presidents of the United States in movies. And they're giving him advice for the State of the Union tonight on how to fake it and how to lie, because it's all a terrible television show. Let's go to the Today Show lying to us, and we're going to get back to that. I'm going to play it for you, so don't go anywhere. But here's the Today Show today lying to us on behalf of Joe Biden and the White House.
The latest Gallup poll finds 77% of Americans believe crime is on the rise nationwide. But that perception is not the reality in most places. The FBI says violent crimes are actually on the decline after a nationwide surge in 2020.
There was a nationwide surge in 2020 and 2021 and 2022, and then so many people were murdered that it dropped in 2023, and that's the lie they're going to share with us.
Despite the national trends, Washington, D.C. saw a historic spike in violent crimes last year, up 39%.
The bill's approved unanimously.
The D.C. Council passed a massive bill aimed to make the district safer, including increased penalties for some gun offenses and expanding the definition of carjacking.
They're expanding the definition of carjacking. That ought to do it. That should do it. Now, let me share with you so you'll know. Gun assaults, the Democrats are telling us, and that means the media too, gun assaults were down 10% from 2022 to 2023. But compared to 2019, gun assaults are up 42%. They're only going to tell you the first part because they lie about everything. Carjacking rates declined from 22 to 23, 9% nationwide from 22 to 23. But we're up 93% compared to 2019 because the Democrats are shooting and robbing more people than ever before. The White House is putting out these statistics, you see, and the Washington Times asks, the White House putting out correct crime statistics? Well, it's correct based on the data provided by a left-wing group from 2022 to 2023, but the trend is skyrocketing crime. Tonight, Joe Biden will lie to us all about that. Hollywood coming up.